Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. In a few of my previous podcasts, I read you some of my short stories, but they've tended to be on the light side. I did some of the stories from my book Light, and then from my book Little Doggy Stories. Well, I thought I would do one with some of my darker stories, this from my book Dark. This one's called I Had to Stop. My name is Hawk. Well, at least that's what I changed it to. My parents named me Helen, but that's no name for a social justice warrior. I had done my thing with PETA and with Black Lives Matter, but my most recent thing was Diversify Classical. I mean, my father was an oboist, and when he took me to concerts, I mainly saw old white males playing music by dead white males. I was the convener of Diversify Classical, and decided to show my commitment by disrupting my father's next concert. He had risen to conductor of the Franklin County Community Orchestra. Its program was typical, a Bach thing, a Beethoven thing, and first, something called Adagio by a guy I'd never heard of, Samuel Barber. But that name sure sounded like a dead white male, and I looked him up. Yup. I told my fellow warriors that as soon as the orchestra starts to play it, we'll march in with our Diversify Classical signs and chant, Diversify Classical, Diversify Classical, until they were forced to stop playing. That would get our point across. When my father saw me leading the protest, of course he stopped the orchestra. But he didn't do what I thought. I was sure he'd ask us to leave. If there had been security, he would have called it, but the Franklin County Community Orchestra was too dinky to have security. What my father did was come down from the podium, and even though all the warriors, including me, were continuing to chant, he hugged me, took my hand, and beckoned me onto the stage. I was embarrassed in front of my warriors, but feeling a little guilty to see my father, all the musicians, and the audience, all so sad, I went with him. He took the microphone, looked me in the eye, and said, "Maybe you're right. Our time is over, and it's your time now. But if you wish, invite your, colleagues to sit up on the stage with us. There are enough empty chairs on the side. Give us 5 minutes to finish playing this piece, and then I'll give you the microphone to say whatever you want, to all of us." And damn, the Franklin County Community Orchestra moved me. I saw the musicians' faces, the audience's faces, my dad's face as they played. There was a quiet intensity of caring, of love for the music, for the tradition, for each other. And it only got more intense as the 5 minutes proceeded. And damn, by minute 4, I was crying. Damn it! When they finished, instead of the usual applause, there was dead silence. My father handed me the microphone. I looked at him again, and at the human beings who played the damn beautiful thing, and the audience of human beings who seemed transfixed. And all I could say is, "Daddy, I'm sorry." Anyway, that story is called I Had to Stop. The next story is called Sub. After having been let go from my job as a fundraiser for an education nonprofit for, quote, not making my number, I needed a win and fast. So while looking for another real job, I figured I'd substitute teach. There were ads all over for looking for subs. Yeah, I was nervous. I remember us kids not treating subs well, but figured I could handle it, especially if I were prepared with fun activities to supplement what the regular teacher left for me. I figured wrong. As I approached the classroom, 2 kids were in the hallway. When they saw me, they turned into the classroom and yelled, "Sub! Sub! Sub!" More kids picked up the chant. I had been raised to believe that if you treat people with kindness and respect, it will be reciprocated. So although their behavior scared me a little, I mustered a smile as I entered the classroom, gently, without a word, motioned the class to settle down and said, "I'm looking forward to making this a good day for you," whereupon a student made a mouth fart. I gave him a schoolmarmy look and continued, "Yes, I'll do the lessons your teacher left for me." Kids groaned. "But I've also brought some special things for us to do that we should find fun." And a kid said, "We're going to dance?" I said, "Not quite, but..." And at that point, the kid climbed onto the desk and started dancing, or more accurately, twerking. I figured I'd better get firmer, so I said, "Down." The student said, "I'm no dog. You can't talk to me that way." He continued to dance. The class cheered, and I had to do something. So I took his arm and was about to say, "Get down!" But before I could, he stuck out his chin and smirked. "I know my rights. You can't touch me. I'll tell the principal to sue your ass." I didn't know what to do. My face was red, my heart was pounding, and embarrassed, scared, okay, angry. I padded to the principal's office and said, "I can't do this. I'm leaving." The principal calmly said, "You are the paid professional. You need to be able to control a classroom." I continued out the door and redoubled my effort to find another job as a fundraiser, but this time for a cause other than education. Anyway, that's sub. The next story is called The Hillcrest Widow Club. The 4 women of the Hillcrest Widow Club met every Thursday morning at 9 in the corner of a quiet coffee shop. Their statements about their deceased husbands started politely. For example, Mary said, "It's difficult, but I'm trying to muddle through." Slowly, their fear of being seen as cold faded, but what really opened things up was when Zoe said, "Honestly, I'm relieved to be rid of that ball and chain." Brittany then felt free to pile on. "Don't we like talking with each other more than with men? We care more about family, feelings, and, fashion. The successful men mainly want to talk about their work. The unsuccessful ones about stupid sports." Further emboldened, Zoe said, "And they just care about getting in and out, assuming they can get it up, which for the last decade my husband couldn't. And I had to pretend it was okay." 2 of the other women nodded. That encouraged Zoe to admit that she had fantasies about lesbian sex. Okay, more than fantasies. Before long, they decided they needed more privacy, so they met in Zoe's plush living room. Mary asked, "How can you afford this?" Zoe replied, "My husband was a lawyer who had one client, but a great one, the Environmental Protection Agency." After a glass of wine or a bong hit, Zoe moved close to Willow, the member who seemed most likely to be willing to kiss. Zoe looked her in the eye, and when Willow didn't avert, Zoe kissed her as the others watched wide-eyed. Would Willow pull back? On the contrary, she sighed in pleasure. But Zoe sensed it was too fast, not just for Willow, but for the others. So Zoe pulled back and asked if someone would like another hit or a glass of wine. But 3, quote, Zoe meetings later, they all, and I mean all, had a very cuddly experience. But afterwards, Mary whispered something that shocked the others. "I love our Widows Club, but every so often I wonder, are men so bad that we're fine with bashing them? We wouldn't criticize women, let alone BIPOCs. If I did, I'd get the 3 C's, censure, censor, or cancel. Atop that, in so many news shows, and especially movies, TV shows, and novels, a spunky, smart woman triumphs over an evil or clueless guy. And when women have the deficit, say we're so-called underrepresented in science, there's massive redress, and yes, reverse discrimination. I know a number of women who got jobs over more competent, harder-working guys. Okay, so did I. Yet when men have the ultimate deficit, they live 6 years shorter than women, their last decade in worse health, and there are 4.4 widows for every widower. All we see is another run for breast cancer. Over the next few meetings, the others began to shun Mary. It was subtle, a little less eye contact, a little more interrupting, and unlike before, no one asked her to get together between meetings. Sad at being ostracized, Mary figured that it isn't a big deal to play the game. She even told anti-male jokes. What do you call a man with half a brain? Gifted. What's the difference between government bonds and men? Bonds mature. What's the difference between a man and a catfish? One is a bottom-feeding scumsucker, and the other is a fish. And soon, Mary was back in the fold. Anyway, that's the Hillcrest Widows Club. The next story is called The Sound of Silence. I get complaints from my cafe's customers that the baristas play jarring music and, as bad, play it blaringly loud, even when my cafe first opens at 7 a.m. My cafe is in the San Francisco Bay Area, the epicenter of revulsion to hierarchy. So I figured I would let my 3 baristas come up with a solution. One of them told me how their meeting went, and with each comment, their tone got angrier and angrier. Barista 1 said, "Well, we all share the common ground of trying to give pleasure to us and to the customers. After all, they are paying $5 for a cup of coffee." Barista 2, "They can afford it. We're working for $20 an hour. The least we can get is music we like." Barista 3, "Yeah, like music that lifts us." Barista 2, "Makes us stand up." Barista 3, "Be activists." Give me an example. Barista 2 says, "Songs that say we ain't going to take this shit anymore. You know, like angry singers wailing the blues." Must everything be in your face even at 7 in the morning? Might chill music be better for everyone? Come on. You come on! I need something to make me wake up. You don't like blues? How about hip-hop or Latinx bands? The trumpets are great. Aren't we supposed to focus on pleasing the customer? Especially in the early morning, most of them are old whites and Asians. Society caters to them enough. Fuck them! We're getting too upset. Should we talk about the right volume? Loud! Fucking loud! I think, like a hung jury, we need to tell the boss we're at impasse. Well, hearing all this, I decided for now at least, that like the Paul Simon song, maybe the best sound is the sound of silence. Anyway, that was The Sound of Silence. And the final story, the second to the last story, is An Exploding Balloon. I wanted to make some money, so in the mall, when I saw a sign in the piano store for a salesperson, I went in. The manager scoffed. "But you're a teenager. People buying expensive piano won't buy from a kid." "They'll think I'm cute and I play the piano." "Okay, piano player, play something." I knocked out the first few bars or something, and he said, "Okay, I'll try you out, but I need to control my risk. No salary, only commission. That means you eat only what you kill." "Are you going to train me?" "The only training you need is to smile a lot, ask why they want a piano, be enthusiastic in responding, show them 3 pianos, more overwhelms them, fewer makes them feel they don't have enough choices, watch and listen to their reactions, if needed remind them of why they want a piano and say, 'My boss has authorized me to give a 20% discount today only. I could have it delivered tomorrow or Saturday. Either one work for you?'" It was overwhelming, but I didn't want to sound like I didn't understand, like I was some dumb teenager, so I just said, "Oh, okay, what do I do now?" "You call the names on this prospect list. They've been in the store before or on a mailing list we bought of people who clicked on an ad for pianos. When you get bored with that, you stand in front of the store, and when anyone even glances at you or at a piano in the window, you say, 'How'd you like to try one?' Or, 'Would you like me to play something for you?' Give people 2 choices, both of which you like, and they'll usually pick one. Oh, and wear a jacket and tie. We got to portray an upscale image. Pianos are expensive." Call after call, all I got was stuff like, "Sorry," or "I hate telemarketers," or they hung up without a word. I told the boss I must be doing something wrong, but he said, "No, kid, that's the real world. You need umpteen no's to get one maybe. You might as well learn that now. Take a break from the call and go outside and pitch 'em." But I got the same result. Flat expressions as they walked on, sometimes a sneer, and what made me quit? "You look whack," which is urban slang for ridiculous. "A jacket and tie, go home, mama's boy." What made that hurt so much was it was on top of the reaction I usually get from girls in school. For example, when I say hi, the best I get is a flat hi, and she walks on, maybe even speeds up. I feel like shit, treated so unfairly. What put me over the edge was that the teachers say that white males are privileged. I'm not privileged. Everything I've gotten, I've earned. Everything my parents got, they earned, and they're far from rich. I wanted to say that, but when I saw a kid try to argue with the teacher and she shot him down, I just held it in. But I'm like a balloon that keeps getting filled up until it bursts. We always have a rat problem in our apartment, so we keep the economy-sized rat poison around. I'm not sure what I did was right, so to be safe I won't tell you what I did so I don't cause a copycat. At the end of the trial, the judge asked if I had anything to say. I figured that reverse psychology had the best chance of working, so I fake cried. "I hate myself, and I deserve the worst punishment." It worked. The judge said something like, "I'm moved by your contrition. In this state, I couldn't sentence you to adult prison. You're only 17, but I could send you to the juvenile detention for 3 years. But I'll make it 2, 18 months with good behavior." I continued the fake agony at the same time I was wondering whether I should learn from the experience and try to pull something without getting caught. Honestly, I'm not sure. And now the final story. So anyway, that story was Exploding Balloon. The final story is Unloved and Didn't Care. I shouldn't have been surprised that my friend and I were the only ones at my brother's burial. People just didn't connect with him, and he grew to not care about connecting with people. The minister tried to say something about him. I called his longtime employer, Spolito's Restaurant, and they said he was there for 18 years and was their most reliable waiter. He was an introvert, but could turn it on with customers who wanted that. After, the minister said the obligatory, I'm sorry for your loss, and crept from the gravesite. I'd guess he was glad to get out of there. My friend asked, why did no one come to his burial? Well, my brother had become robotic. As a young man, he tried to make friends, romantic and platonic, but nothing ever quite clicked. People didn't hate him. They just didn't care much about this quite average guy. So little by little, he grew to not care. He was like the boxer who had a tough go in the first 9 rounds. It's hard to motivate yourself to come out for the 10th, let alone for more fights. So he was grateful that the restaurant was open even on New Year's Eve. He would always volunteer to work then, and not just because of the holiday pay, but because it avoided his feeling sad that he had no one to be with on New Year's Eve. So his life became ever more isolated. Work, home, his dog, and his beloved bromeliad collection. What's a bromeliad? It's a nondescript plant that needs little water, but every year blooms amazingly for a while. Maybe that's what he was hoping for. Or am I being a shrink or a poet or Hollywood? I shrugged. How did he die? An intruder. For decades, my brother kept a gun under his bed, never used it. When faced, though, with that scary-looking intruder, he reached for the gun, the intruder grabbed it, and shot him to death. He wasn't even safe alone in his bed. In any event, those are some of my the short stories from my book, Dark. As usual, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And certainly would welcome you taking a look at any of my 35 books. That's probably most relevant is Dark, but all 35 are on Amazon. I like to end this, which is going to be a podcast, with my favorite quote, I believe more relevant today than ever, from Frank A. Clark, who wrote, "We find comfort among those who agree with us, growth among those who don't."